Hey guys, welcome to this week's live lesson talking about using accents to create grooves and fills. And Josh is our video editor. He put together the Eric Moore lesson and nailed it because that is very similar, although a little bit more complex than what we're going to be doing. So I hope that got your appetite wet though, because we're going to jump into this and we're going to investigate what we've done the last 2 weeks with single stroke accents and paradiddle accents. We're going to make some really cool fills and grooves. So first of all, if you're not a member of jumpchannel.com, I highly recommend you subscribe. You'll get access to that Eric Moore lesson plus over 800 other lessons that cover a variety of topics, all the way from beginner lessons all the way up to advanced professional level tips and licks and concepts. So definitely recommend that. So with that being said, let's jump into this lesson. I'm excited. So if you're on jumpchannel.com, right below this video player that you're watching right now, I hope, there's a download button, and click that, get the PDF download for this lesson, because it's going to be a really helpful guide for you as we go through these different patterns. And as a matter of fact, we had a viewer mention train beats in the comments, so we're going to talk about that as well, because that's a really good example of using accents to create a groove. But first, we're going to go through this page. So get you up to speed real quick if you haven't seen the last 2 live lessons. What we talked about is how you can develop your accent motion and sound. So we did exercises like playing accents on all the different parts of the 16th note. Okay? So that being said, let's go ahead and run down that particular version real quick. So it's going to be, the variations are accents by themselves, accents with the bass drum, and then you play the accents on the toms, and then you play the accents on the cymbal with the bass drum. And again, if this is totally new to you, make sure you go check out the other live lessons, because that covers these topics, okay? So real quick, to give you a primer, here we go. Number 2. Number 3, toms. And the last one is using our bass drum with our right hand. And for our purposes, I'm going to use ride cymbal and crash cymbal. Okay. So that's going to give you a quick overview of what's leading up to this first section. So if you take a look at A on your download, it should look pretty familiar, right? It's nothing crazy. We're actually just playing a regular rock beat, but what I want you to think about is that accent pattern with the right hand. Because that's going to be the basis of all this stuff, okay? So here we go. Letter A. Okay, so the only important part to really think about this exercise that should really be challenging you is that right hand. Okay, so now let's take this a step further. If we look at letter B, we're playing a 16th note pattern. And I should mention, much to my chagrin, there's a typo on beats 2 and 4, there's no hi-hat on the downbeat of 2 and 4, because you're going to go 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, okay? So you're not going to try to hit them both at the same time. That's not what this exercise is about. 1 E and a 2 E and a ready and So this one is actually not much different than the first one, except that we're adding in the left hand, just like we were doing the other accent exercise. Okay? So use these two to kind of like attune yourselves to the exercise, right? Get used to the motion. Just let your right hand, right now, your right hand loosen up. And then it's worth going through these left-handed as well. And let's see if I can do that without looking like a fool. I think I can. So letter A, left-handed. Okay, because all you're trying to do on these A and B is just get used to that motion. So now let's look at some versions using paradiddles. Paradiddles was the other thing we looked at using accents. Paradiddle, for those of you who don't know, is right, left, left, left. And then there's 3 other versions of the paradiddle. You move it over each time. And again, I'm not going to go super in-depth into this because this is all covered in the last week's lesson was paradiddles. So we practiced these exercises, and I'm just going to go through them quickly. It's paradiddles. I'm going to move it around, and I'm going to play the accents for now, for simplicity's sake. I'm just going to play the accents with my hand on the snare drum with the bass drum. And the double paradiddle accent is important too. So we're going to combine these into a very simple, this is where we're going to start doing cool stuff, and as I kind of envision this exercise. We're going to take this, we're going to put our hands on the tom of the snare. If you look at letter C, and we're going to play paradiddles. Okay, and we're going to add in a very simple bass drum pattern. paradiddles, which is the cool thing about paradiddles. Once you start putting them on toms, you can get a lot of really cool voicings. So this one's orchestrated out for us. So we need to think about when our hands move and where our hands are playing accents, because this one gets tricky. So the first thing I would do if I were practicing this for the first time is look at the pattern and the sticking and the accents and try to do that in one place. So it's 4 paradiddles. And I have accenting 1 and 2, and then 3E and a 4E and a. So that's something I need to practice. Okay? So that would be the first step. But once you get comfortable with that, then I would try moving it to the tom and the snare. You actually notice that the left hand does go to the high tom. But for starters, just try it on tom and snare. So you're still basically doing the same thing you were doing here. And now, once you're comfortable with that, and notice I'm still not adding in the foot. Now we're going to put in that high tom. The last step is get the right foot in there as written. Boom. Paradiddle is the best. Okay, let's move on to D. So now we're going to take, I'm trying to give you basically like a 35,000 foot overview of this whole concept, right? It seems like we're moving fast through these because we are. There's going to be an entire series of lessons devoted to building this up from scratch to the level of like J and I. But right now I'm giving you kind of a summary of how this works. So D is going to be a couple different paradiddle variations. In fact, I think we don't have all of them, but we have 3 different paradiddle variations. So start off by looking at the sticking that's above the pattern, right? And I just tried to do that without accents or anything on one place. I like the hi-hat because it doesn't hurt my ears. Right, left, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, left, left. And then take a look at the accents. Throw in the accents. So if you can do that, you can move your left hand to the snare and then play basically half of the pattern right away. And that for me, that's the hard part, is getting the accents and getting everything lined up and situated properly within the groove. And then the last section would be, of course, adding in your foot. The cool thing about these patterns, most of the time we're going to try to line up our foot with the accents. So you're not going to have to worry about playing something weird and linear. You're going to be playing that right hand accent with a foot, more likely than not. Chances are you're not going to play a whole lot of left foot left hand accents, but a right hand and right foot accent is super, super common. And that's kind of what this exercise is built around. So this is a cool example of, like the first, C is kind of a good example of like a tom rock feel. D is more like a linear funk, Tower of Power, David Garibaldi inspired groove that I was trying to put together, something with paradiddles, where you're playing your hand with the accent, just like we did in our exercise last week, paradiddle, 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 or paradiddle, paradiddle, right? We're trying to line it up with the right hand in time, and now we're putting it in a context where it makes sense, a groove. Okay, so A through D are 35,000-foot level examples of grooves, right? Using accents and on your single strokes and your paradiddles. But Kenan Gilbert, who I remember sending in a video of a train beat, I believe, mentions train beats, which is another great real-world example. Train beats are very simple on paper, but what makes them great is the way that you use accents to bring them alive. So a train beat is basically 16th notes. 1, 2, ready, go. But we're going to be accenting the upbeat, the and. So we're going to have that. And now the trick to this one is adding in your foot pattern and keeping that consistent. 1 and 2 and ready and go. So that is a super great suggestion. Super great. That's your SAT vocabulary word for today. Super great. Example of a super applicable, there's another one, groove that you can use and make money playing right now. Like train grooves are super popular. They're really common. You know, it's not something that's going out of style. If you can play a train beat, that is a very good skill to have. Be able to play with sticks, be able to play with brushes, be able to play it at a variety of dynamic levels, be able to play a super loud one, be able to play a very quiet pianissimo train beat. So that's where your accent practice comes in really handy, because something like that should just come naturally to you after practicing your single stroke accents for a long time. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at some fills. Now this is the section I like because I'm a hyperactive, easily distracted person, and fills can be hyperactive and easily distracting. So let's take a look at these, and we'll start simpler, and this is all going to be based around 16th notes today. We're not really talking about the triplet accent scheme. So we're going to keep everything within the framework of 16th notes today. So let's take a look at E. And let's start by looking at the accent pattern, like we did with everything else. Okay, we're going to start branching out a little bit. So instead of playing everything, you know, either now the rules of the game, right? This is the accent game, have changed. An accent can appear on any beat, and now you have to use what you've practiced to execute it, okay? So this one, E, we'll notice looks a little different. It's got accents every 3 beats. 3 16th note beats, excuse me. Okay, and this is a motion you should have practiced, and this should not sound too crazy to you if you've practiced the triplet one. But like I said, we're going to keep it within 16th notes. So that motion needs to be comfortable. And then let's try putting it on just the hi-hat. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. So here you go. That's all that is the accents moving around the toms with the 8th note bass drum underneath it. Okay, and we're gonna try to we're not gonna get too crazy with the bass drum yet. So the bass drum in this fill is rooting us to the feel of 4/4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and Okay? So that's a good one. You hear that a lot. It's kind of like a boogaloo. Doom, 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 doom. Similar, not exactly the same, but you get the idea. So now we're going to change it a little bit, and now we're going to, this one's actually a little bit easier. We're looking at F now, by the way. 1 and 2 and 3 E and a 4 E and a. So left hand's going to say soft, 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 loud, 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 loud. Very simple idea, but just the fact that we're not playing, because we have the undercurrent of, makes that sound a lot bigger and beefier than it might actually seem on paper. Okay, so that's those two are very useful, I think. I've used those or something very similar to them, right? This is just kind of an example. You could obviously move those accents wherever you want to whatever beats, but I just tried to think of some that were pretty easily accessible if you're new to this concept that are useful right away, okay? So now let's take it a step further. Let's look at G. So the first half of this, instead of, we're going to be playing our bass drum with our accents. Okay, so let's start on the hi-hat with just the accents. course, you can move that accent around if you want to the toms, or you can move it to cymbals or anything. That's fine. But now we're trying the idea of our right hand and right foot, or just our accents on our foot lining up now, right? So with that being said, let's take a look at H, which is actually a breakdown of something, previous lesson that you can find under Secrets from the Pros in Lessons by Nate Morton, who's the drummer for The Voice. He played this fill, and he went through it, and I was kind of thinking of things to play, and I was like, oh, you know what? This is a really good example of something I know someone who's making money playing drums is using that follows this concept of using accents and soft notes on the drum set. So now we're looking at paradiddles again instead of single stroke rolls, okay? Paradiddle, 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 paradiddle. So on just the hi-hat, it goes paradiddle, left, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, left. So this one is going to involve everything now. These next three these are the extra credit ones on the page. Okay, we're going to be playing our hi-hat, we're going to be playing our accents and bass drum together, and move it around to the toms, and hit the cymbal, and play the soft notes on our snare. So let's take a look at it super slow, without accents, and just try to get the orchestration of the hands. So the cool thing about this one is it shows that if you switch your paradiddles around every beat, you can create cool patterns like right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, 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 right, left, left, right? Because you're the paradiddle, Okay, so it's really worth trying to get your paradiddles really under control. It will pay dividends in the end if you spend time with them. And these next two are all paradiddle all the time. Okay, so if we take a look at them, they're actually a little bit simpler sticking-wise because they're just single strokes in the first inversion of paradiddles. Right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left. Okay, so let's take a look at the accent pattern on the hi-hat first, like we've done with everything else. Let's break that down, and then we're going to add an element every 4 bars, basically, once we're comfortable with it. Paradiddle, 3E and a 4E and a paradiddle, paradiddle. The thing I like about inverted paradiddle is it sounds, the faster you go, the more laid back it actually sounds. So practice your inverted paradiddles. I'm tripping all over that word today. And get your hands relaxed with it. Paradiddles have to be relaxed in your hand when you're doing them, especially when you're adding accents in kind of funky places. So with that, let's look at the very last one. This is my favorite one, and this is almost the same. We're gonna have our foot involved with the sticking now, so it's almost kind of a linear-ish pattern. So let's take a look at it with our foot and our hands on the hi-hat. Obviously, I'm not going to put my right foot on the hi-hat. So now, it's kind of hard for me to just do this one on the snare because it's exactly the same as when we were doing it here. So we're going to put the whole thing together. By this point, you're total champions. You're going to take this home. You're going to practice all of these. And you're going to get to J, and you're just going to slaughter it. Because if you can do everything else leading up to it, J is actually not really super difficult. So let's go slow, and we'll put it all together for J. One. So get your paradiddles up to scratch, get your single strokes moving quickly, get comfortable playing them at different tempos, with different accents, with different drums, with different feet if you need to do that. And you can take this, you can see this is just what, there's 10 examples on this page. Okay, you can easily create 10 times 10 more examples of using different drums, accent schemes, without having to really do anything crazier than right? Because truth be told, the only thing I used in these exercises was single strokes, paradiddles. And then I moved the accent around to what we practiced. And again, I am super excited to see what you guys come up with. I encourage you all, and I welcome you all to send in videos of you practicing paradiddles and single strokes accented coming up with your own fills and beats, and I would like you to email them to me at info@drumchannel.com. I'm going to pick out which ones I like the best, and I'm going to feature them in their own lesson, and we're going to put that on YouTube and showcase them, okay? So send them in. I would love to see what you guys can come up with. Don't just take the ones I did. I want to see new ones, okay? So I'm super encourage you to do that. If you're not already a member of Drum Channel, once again, becoming a member of drumchannel.com allows you to gain access to all of our lessons on the website. That's over 800 individual lessons by themselves. We have master classes for beginners, intermediate drummers, advanced drummers, people who are just starting, people who have been playing for 40 plus years. We try to engage you no matter what level you're at. So again, if you're not already a member, subscribe, and we'll be super happy to see you around the campus. If you're not a member, or if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, I encourage you to subscribe that, and you'll get a lot of updates from us there and cool clips of people coming in and out who we, in between filming our lesson series with them. So thank you guys, I appreciate it. You were an awesome audience as always, and I will see you Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific time for a live lesson with Rick Latham. If you don't know who Rick Latham is, go stop watching this video, go Google him right now and look up Rick Latham. He's the author of one of the most prolific funk books, Advanced Funk Studies, and he's just a complete master of everything he sets his hands and mind out to do. And he's going to be here talking about shuffles, and I hope to see you guys there. So thank you once again. Have a good night.